Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Popcorn Dogs, your favorite podcast about movies and television and beer and dragons.
Yes, sir.
My name is Sir Bradley of House Greyjoy. That is right. I chose Greyjoy as my house a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it anymore. I think it was a darker time of my life when I was like, yeah, I like the Greyjoys. Because they're really bad people.
It'll come as no surprise to hear that I am Sir Tyler of House Stark.
Lame.
Yeah.
Lame.
Well, once you choose a house, you can't unchoose the house, you know?
You could be the Aarons because you get really high, and you're as high as
Actually,
Snoop Dogg is their official words. As high as Snoop Dogg.
No. I have not gotten high in a hot minute. Is Post Malone on your cup?
Yeah, this is a Raising Cane's cup that he designed.
That's awesome. I love Post Malone.
Yeah, we went to the Raising Cane's. He designed the whole building. It's all pink. It was interesting.
Dude, once you get to a certain level of fame, they just start letting you do cool shit.
Please check out our Patreon. Write a review.
Brad wants to decorate a Raising Cane's.
If Raising Cane sponsored us, could you imagine?
Oh, man.
So you're a Stark?
Yeah, unfortunately, I picked the lamest house.
It's not the lamest by any stretch.
No,
it's just,
but
it's like saying you're from Gryffindor or whatever. It's like, it's fine.
It's like at the peak of Tom Brady. You're like, my favorite team's the Patriots.
Yeah, at the peak of Aaron Rodgers, like, I love the Packers.
Yeah.
Even though we did before.
Yeah. No, if I could, I'd really like maybe nowadays, I'd maybe mix it up. And I might go with like the Flayed Men. I might do House Bolton just to make people angry.
Dude, you're a monster.
I know.
I guess that'd be cool. Once you start getting away from the great houses and you start just getting to the smaller ones, like I would love to be in House Manderley. They eat well and they make frays into pies, and I'm into that.
Or I would just be like, I'm Sir Tyler. I'm the guy who follows around the Red Priest because he can bring people back, and that's pretty cool.
We're the Brotherhood without sobrieties.
So if you can't tell by now, we're going to talk Game of Thrones today.
We're going to talk Game of Thrones. This is simultaneously the least amount of research I have done for an episode and the most amount of research I have done for an episode.
Yeah.
I don't have an outline, which I usually have an outline.
Yeah, we're outline-less today. Well, I'll start a little bit on my history with Game of Thrones. I haven't read any of the books, but the TV show was a very big deal for me. Episodic television is my favorite way to ingest media of like all time. I love a good TV show.
What about in a mosh pit?
Second favorite.
That's your second favorite?
Second favorite is
Okay.
a mosh pit. Depends
on who's playing.
Yeah, if Hot Mulligan's playing, I'd take that over Game of Thrones.
I went to DJ Hodor to Rave of Thrones.
That'd be cool.
It was the actor for Hodor, Christian something or other, and he just DJs, and it was like kind of generic house music, but a lot of people dress up as Game of Thrones character. I was Khal Drogo, and it was pretty awesome. Plus, I was just tweaking.
Game of Thrones was a show that I watched and was very into for a long time. A lot of people don't know my wedding was actually Game of Thrones themed.
I didn't know that.
The walkout song was The Reigns of Castamere. Like we went.
That's
went
a
hard.
little ominous.
Yeah, but we were kind of ominous people.
I guess it worked out in the end, right?
Yeah. We had very few fatalities at our wedding, though, which was a shame. Would have liked to pump those numbers up.
Your heart did die later, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
At least no one died.
Yes. Needless to say, though, it was when Game of Thrones was occurring and happening in real time, it was a very big part of my life.
Yeah. Fucking phenomenon.
And being involved in something that is that at the center of the zeitgeist and just the water cooler talk every day, I miss it.
It's back. We are about, if you're listening on Patreon, this is like a week before House of the Dragon Season 2. House of the Dragon is scratching that itch.
Yeah, which just, we'll get into
I can't believe it got people back after the spectacular failure of seasons, the final seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I wanted nothing to do with it. I wasn't even excited for the show when it was announced, and I was not excited when I hit play on the first episode, and as soon as those first credits rolled at the end of the first episode, I turned to my roommates, I'm like, we're back, baby.
I wish they would have done a different theme song for House of the Dragon.
Yeah. You don't even need, you need to distance yourself from Game of Thrones as far as possible, and this is the part of the podcast where I say, fuck you, David Weiss and DB Weiss and David Benoff.
Fuck you guys. Yeah. Also, they delivered 3 really great seasons of television, 3 seasons of pretty good television, and then the other seasons.
Yeah, Casey
Is it
Anthony
7 or 8?
Casey
8.
Anthony had a baby and then murdered it. So we're not applauding her for having the baby. We remember that she murdered it.
Yes.
That's my analogy for those guys.
Seasons 2 and 3, I would argue. Well, even then, there's a lot of issues.
See, and a lot of people say that, and I know you read the books. I think it is primo TV. I never read the books, though, up till the end of 6.
Season 4 is when I start having major issues because I recently went through all the books again, and Storm of Swords is like the fastest, craziest book you'll ever read, and that's when they like stayed pretty close to what's happening in the show. And then after Storm of Swords, it's Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons. And Feast for Crows, imagine Storm of Swords comes out, and at the end, you don't know what happens to all these characters. And then like 5 years later or whatever, Feast for Crows comes out, and there's not a single mention barely of Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, or Tyrion Lannister. It's like, all right, we're getting a lot of Brienne chapters. We're getting a lot of Jaime, which was nice. We're getting Cersei. But you want those 3 big characters. Yeah. And Feast for Crows didn't do any of that. And it's slow and it's meandering. So, like, instead of Jaime and Bronn having a buddy comedy film down in Dorne, which does not happen, Jaime goes back to the Riverlands and has to learn how to rule without his hand, and he has to learn to think like Tyrion and maneuver like his father instead of whatever the fuck happened down in Dorne. The Sand Snakes were so cool in the books, and they just sucked in the show.
Yeah. I could tell that we weren't on the source material at that point, because A, everybody was saying it, but B, you can definitely feel the source material in the first few seasons with how precise everything is. And it's almost like, what's a good word for it? How organized the show is. And it's, once you get away from the source material, you start doing a lot of jumping. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the buddy cop thing, I always felt that was a little out of place. And yeah, all of my friends who had read the book at the time were like, this is bullshit. That ain't what happened. And Jaime became a lot of people's favorite character.
Until the end, when all of his character arc is sacrificed for no reason.
Oh, man.
And, you know, it sucks because HBO said, we want you to make as many seasons as you want. We got your backs. Do 10 seasons. And Benioff and Weiss like, nope, we're going to do a half a season and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and
we're doing a trilogy of Star Wars films.
How'd that work out for you, assholes?
Yeah, they fucked it so hard.
I don't know if there's ever been more frustration with the way that a show wrapped up. For me personally, and I know a lot of people share this sentiment, than Game of Thrones. I remember being really into The Walking Dead because I've read the majority of the comics and I love them. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed the show. Mm-hmm. As much as people shit on it, like, oh, this, you know, the getting to the prison is really boring, and that season they're on Herschel's farm is boring. Yeah, it's boring, but it's necessary to get to. When you get to Terminus and you have the weird cannibal scene, that shit was great. And then the show dies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. And I was frustrated, but it didn't like keep me up at night. Then Game of Thrones happened.
Well, and it was so bad, the finale, that people didn't talk about Game of Thrones for years.
Yeah, I refused. Since the last episode aired and I watched it in real time, I have not watched a single episode of Game of Thrones, and I refuse to watch it because I don't want to be hurt again.
But going back to the beginning, season 1 Game of Thrones, first Benioff and Weiss had to go to George R.R. Martin and convince him, because essentially George R.R. Martin had worked in TV for a while. Listen to our Elden Dogs episode of Martin and Miyazaki. Yeah. And he was working in television. He did like the Beauty and the Beast TV show with Ron Perlman. He did some Twilight Zone, but essentially he was tired of writing TV scripts because he wanted to write things that without having to be confined to the possibilities of television. So he went big and he wrote Game of Thrones.
When did the first book come out?
I want to say 93.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's back there. And, you know, the books were very well received, and people did like they were bestsellers before the show came out. But Benioff and Weiss went and made a pitch to Martin, and they made a good pitch. They had never made a show before, which is crazy. But they also have money, and they're a little bit of nepo babies. I'm thinking, but
one of them's married to Amanda Peet.
Yep. And George R. R. Martin gave them one test. He's like, all right, if you think you know the stories, who's Jon Snow's mother? And they told him what their thoughts were. And then he said, yeah, okay, I'll give you the show.
So since you read the books and I haven't, is Jon Snow's lineage, like, is that really telegraphed in the books?
It depends on what you mean by really telegraphed. If Daenerys has a vision in the House of the Undying where she sees a little flower, a little chink of in the not chink,
we're talking armor.
Yeah, well, there's like a little crack in the wall, and there's a flower growing from it, which was known to be Lyanna Stark's favorite flower. There are things that
foreshadow it,
and like when Jon's talking to Aemon Targaryen at the wall, and he's like, "You're a Targaryen," and they talk about Targaryens at the wall, and I'm like,
See, when I was watching the show and he meets the dude at the wall that's the Targaryen, I started to think maybe she wasn't kidnapped.
Well, and she wasn't.
Maybe Rhaegar didn't do these things. Maybe it was a little more mutual than people think.
Well, and there's a lot more going on. Rhaegar didn't just steal her for love. He was pursuing the prince that was promised. He thought that there was a prophesied child that would be coming from the Targaryens that would like save the world.
Was it like Azor
Ahai?
Azor Ahai, yeah.
And yeah, Duncan, we're going to learn more about that too. But yeah, Rhaegar was following a prophecy, and the dragon had 3 heads, so he knew that part of it was that. And also, I think he was just really into Lyanna Stark, wild tomboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Robert Baratheon talks a really big game about how much he loves her. I think it's just a romanticized ideal of what since she died, she will always be perfect in his mind.
Yeah.
Through marriage, he would not have liked as a king someone talk. Well, he wouldn't have been king, but like somebody talking mad shit at him all the time. Robert was gregarious,
Yeah. Robert also gives me like Uncle Rico vibes sometimes. Like, if they would have just put me in 4th quarter, we would have been state champs for sure.
Well, also, Rhaegar had Jorah Mormont's got the best quote to Daenerys because she's like, Rhaegar was great and honorable. He's like, Rhaegar fought nobly, Rhaegar fought valiantly, and Rhaegar died.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, Jorah, dude. Robert Baratheon at the Jewel Ford, I think that's what the Ruby Ford, Ruby River or whatever. He beat the shit out of Rhaegar. He took his hammer and destroyed him so hard, like all the rubies from his helmet fell in the water, and that's like where it got its name. But a lot of people can say a lot of things. Also, Robert Baratheon was trapped in a city, and John Connington, who was not in the show, who's a very interesting character. It was a dude who was like in love with Rhaegar, but since he couldn't be with him romantically, he just vowed to serve him forever. He was trying to find Robert in this one town to end the rebellion, and he didn't want to just set the village on fire. And Robert Baratheon went from whorehouse to whorehouse, and he just fucked for 4 days and hid the whole time, and they couldn't find him, and he escaped. And he should have probably burnt the thing down. That's like his big thing, that is the love of his life got away. It was killed because Robert Baratheon just got trashed and banged hoes and escaped.
He wore sunglasses the entire time.
I love Lyanna so much, but look at you, saucy wench.
Oh, man. So before we jump back into season 1, though, how far ahead in House of Dragon are we from Rhaegar? Because you mentioned it.
200 years before Rhaegar.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's quite some time.
Yeah.
Season 1, though, obviously, I didn't watch season 1 when it aired. I came in on episode 9. I didn't watch that one first, but the day episode 9 aired was the day I started episode 1.
Yeah.
And
I was about where I was, too.
Because I didn't know, I had no idea what Game of Thrones was, and my roommate in college was just like, dude, this show is fucking crazy. You would love it. Like, it's like oddly realistic history, but set in fantasy world. Like, there's a ton of names that you got to learn. It's some nerd shit you'd really like. And I was like, we'll see.
Yeah, I had a buddy that was the same way, just like coming in really hot on the recommendation. And I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, it was every Monday morning I would see him. He was like, dude, did you watch it yet? You got to watch it.
I like Lord of the Rings. Like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I was watching it and I went to work, and this is after I was getting into it, and I told my coworker Brian, I'm like, dude, I'm through episode 8. And he's like, oh, so you saw Ned died? And that's episode 9. I was like,
yep.
Brian.
You ass.
Shit.
A
fun story. I worked with a guy at a brewery in New Zealand named Oliver. Horrible kid. I hated him.
That's not where I saw that sentence going.
Oliver, though, he lived where they were filming Game of Thrones, the execution scene of Ned Stark, and he was an extra there that day. And he was an extra in enough scenes where he got invited to the after party. And he was underage at the time, but he was up at the bar getting a soda, and he said Sean Bean came up to the bar very drunk. And he looks over at him, he goes, you were at my execution. 2 shots. And Oliver said his first drink ever was with Sean Bean in honor of Ned Stark's death. I'm like, dude.
You could die happy now.
That's so cool. You were at my execution. I want Sean Bean to say that to me drunk.
And this is where a sentence that will come back to haunt the show rears its ugly head. Not that they said it out loud yet, but it became like the motif. It became the it became the thing everybody talks about. Is Ned dies at the end of the first season, and it's very abrupt. And he's like on the box set for season 1, like he's sitting on the throne, like. And Sean Bean definitely seems, to the layman who hasn't read the books or has just watched normal television, it seems like he's going to be the main character. Like, this is going to be a show that is around Ned. We see a lot of the first season from his point of view.
He's the only big name in the first season.
Yeah. And then he gets his head cut off.
Yeah.
And when that happened, my jaw dropped because I'm like, you just killed Sean Bean in season 1. What the fuck are you doing?
All bets are off.
And this is where...
then you think, okay, well, it happened. We have plot armor for our characters now. Like, Rob is super important.
Yes.
He's going to survive.
And when you think that, then that character will end up dying. And they start saying we're trying to subvert expectations, especially later once they get away from the source material. But I never really felt like you were subverting anything. Every death in this show, which became, like, in the public eye, this, like... taboo, who are they going to kill next? Oh my God, I can't believe they've done that. It's just good writing.
Yeah.
When you kill a character in a television series or a movie or a video game or whatever medium, there needs to be cause and effect. Mm-hmm. If you do something...
This because of that.
Yes. Not... The South Park writers have that perfect breakdown of how they write episodes. This happens, therefore this happens. Because of that, this happens. Not...
Yeah.
And then you never want to write a story with, well, Ned gets arrested and then he gets his head chopped off. Like, that's not interesting. Instead, what you have is you have Ned's arrested, therefore he gets executed, and because of that, Arya goes on her journey. The Rob has to elevate himself to run the household.
The king of the north.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, all of the politics
dude talks
change.
shit at him, and he like sends a direwolf to bite his part of his hand off. He's like, his meat's pretty tough.
Yeah, I'll follow that, man.
And then I'm gonna ask for a lot more money next season, and they're not gonna pay me, so I'm just gone. Yeah. Sorry, Great John. Great John Umber.
Season 1 is fantastic, and we get a little bit of that.
Worst parts of season 1. The first battle of the Green Fork, they didn't have the money to film it, so Tyrion gets knocked out immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And the second worst thing, the fucking joust at the tournament grounds, it looks like it's in some back alley. Like, it looks worse than a Renaissance fair.
Yeah, we saw a better one at Bristol.
Well, and the one that you see in House of the Dragon, season 1, where, like, Daemon presents the crown, that's what it should have looked like. But... those are the two biggest things. Otherwise, the writing is close, and it works because the great dialogue is written by George R. R. Martin and held to. Tyrion. I mean, Tyrion immediately, like, it's an interesting show because you have clearly when it starts, the Starks are the good guys. They have the kids. We relate to them. We like them. And the Lannisters, they're bad.
Anybody in like the first couple episodes, when you ask them like, "Who's your favorite character?" and they're like, "I like Jaime," you're like, "You fucking monster!
You're a bad guy."
You're like pushing kids out of windows and banging your sister. What's going on here?
So you like the child death?
Yeah,
and banging a twin?
That's weird, man.
The things I do for love, and it's one
of the coldest lines ever.
Oh man,
that's such a good scene.
That the show is so good though at drawing lines, and no one's good or bad. And someone even asked George one time, like, "How do you feel about Joffrey's death?" It's like, I felt pretty bad about it. Like he's a kid that had no proper parents raising him. Cersei gave him everything he wanted. He turned out to be a spoiled shit bad guy. Still a kid choking to death.
Yeah. I feel that way when I play Crusader Kings. I'll have a kid, and then he'll like all of a sudden start bullying the other kids, and then he becomes like a zealous, sadistic torturer, and he's my heir. And I'm playing like a noble, like leading the army kind of dude that's just like taking territory.
You're going to work at McDonald's this summer.
Yeah, like there's been multiple times where I've seen my player heir and been like, I'm killing that kid. I'm gonna kill my kid.
Yeah,
I can't play as him.
No one's more accursed. No one's more accursed than a kinslayer.
Yes.
So much of the dialogue is just spot on, though. How do you wish to die, half man? At the age of 80, with a woman's mouth around my cock. Like, damn, he's good.
Yeah.
George has said like, what Tyrion says as a quip. It took me a week to think of.
Which, I mean, kudos to you, man. Like, I know there's there's an interview I watched a long time ago, and I remember almost nothing from it. But there's one part that stuck out to me, and it's Stephen King talking to George R.R. Martin. And George R.R. Martin is asking King about, like, his writing style and, like, how he gets material out. And King says some crazy shit, like, every day I want to write, like, 7 pages. And Martin's like, I'm lucky if I write 7 pages in a month.
Yeah.
But you also look at the level of dialogue that we're working with here, and Martin fucking nails it. And I think that's part of the reason that it's an excellent show for HBO to pick up, but staying true to Martin's writing in the first season, if we would have got the Benoff, Weiss, jerk-off fest that the show became, I don't think it would have taken off as well as it did because Martin is that talented of a writer.
It's really disappointing in the show that they quit introducing new characters. Essentially, like there would be maybe 1 or 2 new main characters for a season. Like, oh, okay, we get Dario Naharis. Here is Euron Greyjoy. But if they were following the books, there should be like essentially new casts every season. Like there should be so many new characters coming and going. And they really just kind of got stagnant when there was so much more material to go into. Dorne, they did Dorne real dirty.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the limitations of having a budget and making a major television show.
Dude, the Greyjoys are the most heavy metal house in the books.
Yeah, and I'm terrible with names, as anybody knows with this podcast, but who's the guy at the end that's like, I fucked the queen?
That's Euron Greyjoy.
Euron, yeah. I know that Euron was supposed to be a much better character than what he ended up being in the show.
In the show, in the books, he's like, I sacrifice men to all gods. I want all gods on my side. He drinks the the nightshade that the oracles from the House of the Undying drink. He drinks it like beer. So he's always just having heavy tripping visions all the time. He is just killing people. He is bringing maids up into like lordly beds while forcing. It's bad. All of these things. I won't even say all the stuff, but he is religious evil. He is hardcore evil instead of a dick joke.
Yeah, and that's just, you look at, that is the point that I point to every single time someone tries to defend the later seasons, is you look at Martin's writing and how good the show was in the early seasons with how the characters developed. I just point at Euron. I'm like, look at this fucking joke of a character that they made.
He has a ship called the Silence because he removes the tongues from everybody that's on his ship so no one can spill his secrets.
That's fucking crazy.
He straps his brother to the front of the ship.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he also, like, when his brother's brought back into the under the ship, he finds the warlocks of Karth, the ones that like chained Dany up. They tried to follow after Dany to get revenge on her, and he found them and just like keeps them as slaves now, and they're like eating each other's arms and stuff.
I love it.
I got a bigger dick than you, Theon.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a joke.
I'm the guy that killed Jaime Lannister, and he didn't even kill Jaime Lannister. Atrocious.
Yeah.
And the books, the show does the books dirty many other ways. Like, you have the Battle of Winterfell, okay, and the first thing you do is send your cavalry out when you have a fortified position, and then all of your cavalry gets destroyed because that's how it works against the White Walkers, and then all of the fucking Dothraki come back as whites then, and you just sacrifice like 5,000 people, so it's a 10,000 swing because now they're over there.
And you didn't even flank. With cavalry, if you've ever played a strategy war game, you know, envelop the enemy. Envelop them. Create a circle and then push in. Look at, what was was it fucking Hannibal? Was it Hannibal that did that to the Romans? What is that battle? There's a battle that happened with.
Yeah.
I think it was Hannibal.
Colin Farrell.
Against Scipio Africanus. My Roman history is really rusty at this point.
In season 2, also great. Very exciting watching Tyrion get to be the Hand. Seeing more of Tywin is always good. Tyrion as the Hand is a really fun season.
Yeah, anytime Tyrion's on screen is fantastic. But did you know? I know one fun fact about the making of season 1, and particularly the pilot episode. When you find the wolf with the stag, the dead animals, they used a real dead animal.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it stunk so bad that many of the actors threw up and or were repulsed and really sick at the scene when they find the direwolf pups.
Did you know that they shot an entire pilot that got canned?
I did hear about that.
And only a few of the shots made it into the episode because they refilmed almost all of it, but some of it did make it into episode 1. Tyrion has extremely blonde hair that looks like bleach blonde in the first scene we meet him. And yeah, you can tell. Like, Daenerys was played by a different actress. Michelle Fairley, Lady Stark, was played by a different actress. It's crazy. And plus they filmed an entire like prologue of Ned Stark's dad and older brother getting tortured to death by the Mad King.
It all just happened.
Clouds and Sun.
Oh my God. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Battle of the Blackwater, though, that's when they started really delivering on big battles.
And it was also this, like, after season 2, episode 9, is we start to get the hint that the 9th episode is the episode.
It is, yep.
We're building towards something every episode 9, because first season you get Ned dying, and then Battle of Blackwater is the second season.
The Red Wedding.
Oberyn is season 4 versus the Mountain.
Still sad.
Oh man, there's a recording of me reacting to that live somewhere.
How much is it Pedro Pascal, and how much is it Oberyn Martell? Like,
dude,
it's a perfect confluence of the coolest written character meets the coolest actor to play him, and they just they go to the moon together.
Yeah. Pedro, I forgot that's kind of how I found out about him.
That's how everyone found out about him. And then he was literally in everything after that.
And now he's Joel, which is one of my favorite written characters in any medium ever.
And now he's the Mandalorian.
That dude
Din Djarin, yeah.
Yeah, season 2, you can definitely tell that like the success has hit and the budget got a little bigger. And I feel like a lot of the performances from the actors got a lot better. They're a little more comfortable in their skin playing these very fleshed out characters. And it feels like they're kind of settling in already, which is good for a show. The Walking Dead did not have that comfort, because that's another show that kind of like took the world by storm for a minute. In season 2, for those guys, the only person in that show that settles into the level of like Game of Thrones where you're like, that dude is that guy, is Shane. Played by...
Never seen it.
What's his nuts? Who plays the Punisher? Jonathan Bernthal, yes. Yeah. He fucking murders the role, and it's because he has...
We'll talk about Walking Dead some other time.
But you get my comparison here.
Yep.
Like 2 shows that took the world by storm, and you only get one performance that's really knocking it out of the park in that, whereas in season 2, like...
There's no misses.
Yeah, I saw so many Tyrion Lannister shirts.
I drink and I know things. Dude, when Janos Slynt betrayed Ned Stark to get promotions and become the Lord of Harrenhal, and Tyrion invites him over and then sends him to the wall, it's like, dude, Tyrion, come on. And he plays Varys against Littlefinger, against Maester Pycelle. He says that he's sending
Cersei's daughter
or son to different houses.
Yeah.
And just to see who would squeal. Awesome.
Yeah. Season 2.
And then he gets Pycelle, shaves his beard. I'm like, come on, Tyrion, my man.
Dude, yeah. Season 2 with Tyrion definitely steals the show for me.
I feel like we haven't even mentioned one of the best characters, at least in the first 2/3 of the show, Arya Stark.
Yeah.
Arya breaking out of King's Landing, teaming up with Hot Pie and Gendry, and Lamy Green Hands, but he sucks. But Hot Pie, I kicked a kid in the balls till he died. I'm like, dude, Hot Pie, you're my dude.
You played Rochambeau to the death?
I kicked him in the balls till he died.
That is the name
Don't
of the game,
fuck
right?
with me. And then she's like, I killed a fat boy once. He's like, all right, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't, come on now.
No.
I give up.
No, Arya's character was awesome, especially in the first season when Jon's about to leave and he gives her needle. I fucking love that scene.
In the books, it's different. So that's a change the show did very well, where Arya doesn't cupbear for Tywin in the books. But she is dealing with, I forget who it is, but having Arya and Tywin in season 2, and where she gets a little saucy with him, because he can tell, like, all right, she's smart. She's not who she says she is. I don't know who she is, though. We're going to let it be. You can be the cupbearer and serve at the meeting. So she gets to listen in on what's going on. And he said, at one point, he's like, careful. I like you.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh, it's so good. And then, yeah, her whole journey where she goes from Harrenhal with In Enemy Hands, and then she meets Jack and Hagar, and she teams up with the Brotherhood Without Banners. She, like, I don't know, she's always that character that is almost, she's like, all right, she's going to the wall. She's going to see Jon. Okay, she's going to make it to Rob's wedding. Good. Someone's going to get out. Fuck. She's going to run into Sansa. It's going to be fine. Fuck.
Yeah. And we've also missed another character for the first, especially season 2, that really started to steal the show for me, the Hound.
The Hound.
Because he will inevitably team up with Arya in the show.
Fuck the king.
Fuck the king. Yeah, and then eat like then what, he just starts mowing down on a rotisserie chicken.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes, like, because the show wants to give people funny things. They want to put all the cool characters in a spot that normally wouldn't be there, and I get it. Sometimes they write really silly things, and sometimes it works. And the Hound, like, I'm going to have to eat every fucking chicken in this place if you don't shut your mouth.
Love it.
I'm in. Someone get that man some chicken. Do you know the Hound is in Hot Fuzz?
Yeah. Yarp.
Yarp.
Yeah.
Playtime's over. Fucking mental.
I said cool off.
You said cool off? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hound's great. Gregor gets recast twice.
Yep. First, he's like I don't know who plays him in season 1, where he almost chops off the Hound's head.
His own horse, because Loras Tyrell brings a female horse in heat to the battle, knowing Gregor's horse will be insane about it because he's like fucking ready to mount. Loras did some sketchy stuff, which is why Littlefinger bet heavy on. That's why Renly bet heavy on Loras, and then Littlefinger makes a quip about it afterwards when he loses money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the scene when he chops off the horse's head where you see the duality between the two brothers, because it's Baratheon, right? Who Robert, who's like, he interrupts the fight that's going on.
Yep.
And the moment that the Mountain is swinging his sword, like the Hound takes a knee to like honor his king,
yep.
And the sword just slices right over his head.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the command you have over him. And this other dude's fucking crazy.
Gregor Clegane, the Mountain that rides, he since he was a young child has had horrible, intense migraines. Like he drinks milk of the poppy, which people use kind of like morphine. He drinks it kind of like water every day just to try and quiet all of the pain in his head, which is one of the reasons he became like so angry and mad. Plus he's huge. the Clegane household rose high in prominence to the Lannisters because they were like 3 mad dogs is their sigil. Yeah. They do the dirty work for Lannisters, but yeah, Gregor took the Hound when he found the Hound playing with his toy, and he took his like 8-year-old brother and put his face into a fire and held it there.
Which is why his shit's all fucked up.
And the only person that can speak with the Hound is the little bird, Sansa Stark.
Yeah.
And she had a cool character trajectory going for a while. And when she emerges with Littlefinger in the Eyrie and she's wearing all black, and I'm like, okay, cool. She's a player now. She knows what she's doing. And immediately, like, she just gets sent off to Winterfell to get raped.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Doesn't happen in the books.
Oh, really?
Sansa never goes to. Well, at least, I mean, thus far, she's not going to Winterfell. But also, Georgia said there's no way Littlefinger would ever send Sansa to Ramsay Bolton.
And they needed a reason to. I mean, they were definitely beefing up Ramsay at that point, and they needed a reason for the audience to hate him more.
And a character in. Well, I guess they had Theon there, but instead, Sansa's friend Jane Poole, who is in, like, she starts off going to Winterfell with everybody, and she gets done up to be Arya Stark and then given to Ramsay Bolton. And Ramsay's much worse in the books. He forcefully marriages a widow and then consummates the marriage, locks her in a room, and cuts all of the skin off of her fingers, so she chews her fingers off because of the pain. He makes the fake Arya Stark have sex with dogs. He makes
that's in the book.
Yeah,
damn, that's fucked.
It's bad.
That's so fucked up.
It's not like a scene, but it's said that something that it happened.
Ugh.
Yeah, Theon Greyjoy, my poor boy.
Yeah, the scene where he's being tortured and then it cuts to Ramsay like eating a sausage and like flopping him at him.
I like
still made me laugh really hard.
Ewan Rian, I think that's Ramsay's name. Great casting. He was a very fun and sadistic Ramsay.
He's a really good actor. I first saw him in the British TV show The Misfits, which is
I've heard it's really good.
It's good. It kind of goes off the rails at a certain point, but the first season or two, whew.
And his dad too.
Michael Bolton.
Yeah, Lord Michael Bolton. He's great. The show, season 2, great. Season 3, great.
See, and I think season 3 is where, if you didn't know about it already, this is where the majority of the public was like, all right, it's time to take notice.
Well, John's going north of the wall.
Yep. And
They're going ranging.
It was about this season, because John was kind of like a little brooding and a little bitch in the first season.
Don't want it.
I don't want it, yeah. And then
I'm no Stark of Winterfell.
Like I'm like, you're doing it too much, man. I don't like it. But then season 3, when he like Ygritte,
yeah,
her name, their whole like romance storyline. I'm a sucker for a good love story.
Do all Southerners use their tongues? I just wanted to kiss you there is all.
Yeah, they're like that.
Are you telling me wildlings don't eat out? Like, come on.
Yeah, dude.
Tormund Giantsbane goes to town. First, you get her nice and wet like a baby seal.
Oh,
fucking Tormund. In the books, he's like that's another. Sometimes the casting just elevates a character, and Tormund is fine in the books. He's not the Tormund from the show. Where that Kristoff Hirschu, however you say his name, legend. And something else that's like we don't see it might happen, but when Tormund sees Brienne, he's like, "Fuck me,
dude!" Yeah, how smitten he is. I fucking love that.
He looks like a little kid wanting to go to a playground.
Yeah.
But John North of the Wall is great, and they really did man's. And you know, it's one of those things. Like I'm saying it, everything up through like season 3 and 4 is mostly great. Robb Stark's relationship with Talisa Maguire is different than in
the medic woman.
Yeah,
because in the books that doesn't happen. I know that was a big thing that the people I was watching the show with, we'd have like watch parties. 2 of them were like diehard fans of the book, and like we'd talk about the episode after every episode and ad nauseum. And that was one thing that they just could never get behind was that medic. like stealing Rob's heart.
Well, and it's Jane Westerling in the books. She a vassal of the Lannisters, and Rob makes a mistake. He was betrothed, and he's so honorable. He's like, I got to marry her. I have to now. Like, you probably also didn't want to be with a Frey.
Yeah.
Finds out Rosalind Frey though is pretty hot, so he blew that one.
Bummer, dude.
That's all different. The Red Wedding. If you're a book reader, you're watching that and you're like, you're rubbing your hands. You're like, we're going to have some fun tonight.
Yeah, I was watching it, and the people I was watching it with knew that I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't notice them all staring at me. And when the Red Wedding happened, this is like no exaggeration, I was so fucking angry that I was like, I'm not watching the show anymore. I'm done. That's it. I'm done.
It's so mean.
I am fucking finished. I had to go on a walk and get ice cream. I reverted back to being a child. I had so much frustration. I didn't know what to do with it. No show had ever made me that angry before.
Yeah.
And like, I watched Con Air.
She names the baby after Sean Bean, and it's immediately killed that episode.
Oh, man. And the way that they do the Red Wedding is so good, too, because it's like, if you watch the scene after knowing, like, what happens, I didn't realize how precise the anticipation, the tension rising was.
Yeah.
It is a very well-written scene. Plus, you have Arya, like, outside the walls. Like, she's about to get there and see Rob.
And you're like, all right, let the wolf out.
Yep. And you're like,
we can do this.
We're getting there. And you think you're going to get this happy reunion at the wedding, and it's going to be great. And instead, fucking mayhem.
Catelyn Stark grabbing the Frey's new young wife by the throat. And she's like, let it end. Rob, just walk out. Just let him walk out. We'll let it be done. And then they just like, kill Rob. And she gives out the craziest scream of a mother's grief before she cuts the throat of the Frey. And then her throat gets cut.
And that shot.
And she lingers there. Cut to black.
Yes. That shot of her, like, the scream, she slits the...
I'll get another. Fuck you, Frey.
Yeah, she slits the Frey's throat, and then that dude just walks up behind her. You don't even, like, it's just still that close-up shot, and it is something about it is so sinister, because he just walks up, and you don't even really see his face. It's just this unceremoniously, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for there, kill.
Yeah.
And then in the books, I believe the line is she tore her face to ribbons because she becomes Lady Stoneheart, which is not in the show.
If I'm going to add a warning to the front of this, where if you haven't read the books, you should, because the Lady Stoneheart reveal is one of the best moments in the books. Because this one Frey, who's like the fifth son of a fifth son, who's like, I'll never be. And essentially, there's always this. I spent a good day trying to figure out how all the different Freys and the grandkids and the great grandkids and the cousins, and they have like an order of who's going to ascend, and this one Frey knows that when Walder dies, the next guy that goes up is going to push out so many of the other ones because like I just want my family here, I need to keep myself safe, and he goes to try and ransom off a Frey that's been captured by the Brotherhood Without Banners. And they get there, and he finds, like, oh, they just hung the dude already. He knows he's in trouble. And that's when Lady Stoneheart comes out. And it's, like, a big fucking crazy ending to one of the books.
Can you explain to me what Lady Stoneheart is? Is she a ghost? What is she? A spirit?
When Daenerys Targaryen brings the dragons back into the world...
She introduces magic to the realm.
Magic is reintroduced to the realm. When dragons are around, magic is more powerful. Thoros of Myr, he is a red priest that never believed in it. This dude, he was just Robert's favorite because he had a shtick of lighting his sword on fire and getting really drunk with Robert. And Robert's like, that's my dude. That was crazy, dude. He lit his sword on fire. I did it again.
I fucking love the Red Priest. And the actor that plays him fucking kills the role.
He's great. And Thoros has brought Beric Dondarrion back multiple times. Beric is dead like 4 or 5 times. And so when Lady Stoneheart is pulled out of the water, and she's been in the water for a while. They just threw her naked in the river, slit her throat. Like, it was really dishonorable.
Yeah.
And they pulled her out, and it's not Thoros Amir. Beric Dondarrion's like, all right, I'll do it. I'll give her the kiss. And
That's how they bring him back?
well, we don't see it, but it's not even Thoros. It's Beric Dondarrion, who's not a red priest. He gives the kiss of life to her. And she comes back, and so he dies. He, like, sacrifices himself in a way. And then she's leading the Brotherhood Without Banners on extreme vengeance. Extreme, like...
Damn, I did not know that she took his place.
She takes his place, and Brienne is later sent on a mission by Jaime to go find the Stark girls.
Yep.
And she is led on her own adventure, but at one point she hears that there might be a Stark somewhere, and she goes, and she's led into a trap by the Brotherhood Without Banners and Lady Stoneheart, who she has sworn her sword to. She pledges herself to Catelyn Stark.
Yeah.
And she shows up there, and Catelyn sees her using a Lannister sword, carrying Lannister orders, and she's like, all right, you're done. Unless you say something.
You're cooked, dude.
You're done. Like, and she can only talk by covering her throat and, like, doing that out of it.
Dude.
Because her throat's cut.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Brienne says something. We don't know the word. I think it's sword. And then she sends a letter to Jaime, who's in the Riverlands, recapturing River Run. And she sends a letter to Jaime like, hey, I found Sansa. You need to come here to this area. Come by yourself, though. Otherwise, we're in trouble. So Jaime goes, and Jaime's being led into a trap with Lady Stoneheart. And Brienne and Pod are about ready to be killed. And that's the last thing we know. That's where the last thing we know after Dance with Dragons.
No shit.
And there's other things going on, too. Robb's wife is not killed in the books.
Jane
Westerling.
Jane's not killed in the books?
Nope.
Because they fuck her up at the
They
wedding.
stab her belly.
Yeah, they stab the baby first, and then they kill her.
It's believed that Robb's heir was given moon tea, like she was given moon tea to take care of the baby, but Robb also sends a decree like, I need to name an heir in case something happens. And he sends an order north to make Jon Snow, we believe it's to make Jon Snow the next heir if he dies. So there's an order going north up towards Jon Snow. We don't know what's going to happen with that.
Dude, that's so much different than the show. That's crazy.
Yep. Very different in the show.
So we're in season 3, though. Is season 3 where Jaime loses his hand?
So good.
4?
It's not Vargo Hoat in the book. It's a fat Dothraki who just like joined this shitty sellsword company. His name is Zolo. Just this fat Dothraki dude.
They just picked him up outside of Home Depot. Like, you got work?
We'll take you.
We'll take you. Hop in.
You'll work for 2 gold. Gold Dragon. We way too much. Silver Stags. Yeah. No. And Jaime's redemption arc. That's one of the best things in the show. It works perfectly in the books. The moment Jaime does something for somebody else, like altruistic, the moment he sticks his neck out a little bit to save Brienne from getting raped, he is immediately punished by his no good deed goes unpunished. He does one good thing, and that night his hand gets cut off.
Which in the show was that I audibly gasped.
Yeah.
And I think I threw both of my hands on my cheeks at the same time, like that painting. I was like, oh. But now,
well, and you still hate Jaime a little bit, but at this point, you're like,
you're appreciating the character at this point because he's played very, very well by, God help me, his name I cannot remember. He's got a French last name.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
That's not French, but it was not a language that I'm familiar with.
It's like Swedish or something, or
it's Swedish,
Finnish.
Yeah, but at this point, you're literally just jump starting the best character arc I may have ever seen in my life.
Season 7.
Yes,
the first half of season 8.
At the top of the lists of like things Game of Thrones fucked up. Jaime Lannister's ending is like 1 or 2,
man,
in my opinion. Because when he loses his hand, he loses so much more.
Well, in that season, he gets a lot of time to shine. Him and Brienne are sent off on their own adventure, and Brienne is not easy to relate to. I understand why Jaime just pokes her and was like, "Can we do anything? Can we talk?" Like,
yeah, that hot tub scene where he like kind of confesses and like,
yeah.
he just pours it out there. Like, he knows
what right does the wolf have to judge the lion?
Yes. My God, that is such a good scene. And like, you have,
And everyone, he killed the king. He's like, if I didn't, he was going to burn King's Landing to the ground. I guess I'm a bad guy.
fuck me
Fuck
then.
me, I guess.
Yeah, having that scene was incredible. But when he loses his hand, he loses everything because he wasn't
his identity.
Because he was the best swordsman. He was talked about being the best swordsman in the realm, which makes his fight with Ned Stark in season 1 really kind of.
I wish they could have finished it.
They could have finished the fight.
Yeah, because one of the
because someone stabs Ned in the leg,
and Jaime's fucking pissed about it too.
Yeah, he wants that honor.
Jaime calls him out. He's like, "You don't ever fight in the tournaments, do you?" He's like, "I'd rather my enemies not know how I fight."
Yeah, that's a good swordsman.
And Ned did fight the Sword of the Morning in Dorne when he was rescuing.
Oh, the dude with the 2 swords.
It's different in the books, but he kills one of the greatest members of the Kingsguard. So Ned knows what he's doing as well.
Yeah, you have like 2 of the it's like
2 heavy hitters.
It's like Kendrick and Drake. It's like the rap
You're
beef.
a son of a bitch.
You have the 2 biggest guys in rap going at it.
You're a son of a bitch.
No,
Littlefinger and Varys would have a poem battle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Varys would probably win.
The queen mustn't know. Yeah. Jaime's arc is shot in the foot, though. It's great. He knights Brienne. He sleeps with Brienne. They have a moment together. And then he runs away and runs to Cersei for no apparent reason.
No. Yeah, well, season 4 is where we get introduced to what I think a lot of people thought was going to be Lady Stoneheart, because I remember seeing Dondarrion and the Red Priest, and you have the Hound, and Arya's with him at this point, running into them in the woods there. And I remember the room I was in got like weirdly quiet when that happened. They're like, oh, is it going to happen? They thought Lady Stoneheart was coming.
Yeah.
And they didn't spoil it for me at the time, but they were like, there was supposed to be a character there, and they're not there, so we're mad.
We haven't even mentioned Stannis Baratheon.
Well, we didn't even talk about how Renly...
Davos Seaworth.
We haven't talked about the Onion Knight.
Onion Knight is one of the greatest characters. If I could make my all-time dream team of
Pub crawl guys?
the what is it? The small table, the ones that serve the kings.
Yeah,
Davos is my master of ships, no doubt about it.
absolutely.
Tyrion, Hand of the King, no doubt about it.
Yep. You want Tyrion, you want the Onion Knight. Master of Coin, definitely not Bronn.
Maybe Littlefinger, as long as you can keep him in check. But you can't trust him.
Yeah, you can't trust him at all.
Who's the old knight that goes to Daenerys?
Jahara?
Not Jorah.
Oh, not Jorah.
Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. I remember people freaking out, though.
Not
when we
Eris
find out what's
Oakheart. It's Barristan Selmy. Yeah, we didn't mention a lot of Daenerys. She goes to Karth and she brings dragons back, and at that scene I was like, okay.
Yeah, we totally missed that in the first season when she like goes into the fire. Well, you already know when she goes into the really hot tub and Liddy's like, "My lady, that'll burn you," and then she's just like dipping into the tub and she's like, "I don't give no fucks."
Viserys, just the worst, slimiest cunt in the world.
Oh god, I fucking hate Viserys.
Yeah, when he gets crowned for a king, great.
Which, if Game of Thrones
Khal Drogo gets humor.
Yeah,
yeah, he's like, "This is gonna be so funny, dude."
If Game of Thrones did nothing, say season 1 happened and it got canceled,
It made Jason Momoa.
it made every woman's hall pass list start with Jason Momoa.
Yeah, and in the books it's a little different. The first time Daenerys is with Khal Drogo in the books, she loves it, and
Yeah, and it's oddly rapey in the show.
well, it is rape in the show.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Funny story.
And also praise the show for hanging Dong. There is multiple times they just hang Dong, and I appreciate that. Not enough Dong hanging in regular television.
yeah, if you're gonna show the tits,
When they have
you gotta see some dick.
When Hodor, they did a giant Dong prosthetic on him.
Oh, I just thought that boy was all natural.
No, that's a big fake ding.
Yeah, because when I saw Hodor was holding,
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn, dude, good for you."
He's holding something. Hold dick.
When they do sex scenes in film, though, oftentimes the dude will wear like a sock or something. You know, like they usually have something that stops.
You see what they do? What they do in Game of Thrones is they just have him wear dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to show it and you're having a sex scene, there's something that the guy wears so that like you can make it look like you're having sex, but you're not actually having sex. Because if anybody knows how sex works, I'm not going to explain it to you.
Spoiler warning.
But what I'm getting at is Jason Momoa apparently wore like a fuzzy sock with like funny stuff on it on his dong to make Daenerys Emilia Clarke a little more comfortable.
Emilia Clarke almost died in some of the first seasons too.
The Jello heart. She peaked a whole bunch.
Well, no, she had like issues with her brain. Like one of the like not an aneurysm, but something was wrong. She almost like actually died from like complications with her brain.
Holy shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, she didn't really tell anyone about it during the show. But yeah, she goes to Karth, and Daenerys constantly gets in over her head, and Targaryens her way out of situations. What a lot of people don't realize from the beginning, this is our main villain for the series.
Yeah,
but we love her. She is subjugated and she rises up. She frees slaves.
Yeah,
she's out. There's 3 slave cities: Astapor, Yunkai, and Meereen, and she fucks 2 of them up. And then she captures the 3rd one, and she's like, all right, I got to learn what I'm doing. I can't just kill everybody. And that part is challenging the first time you read it in the books because all of the names are Grazdaz, Yunkai, the Shave Pate. They're all these fucking names, and they're all these syllables you don't see anywhere else. And it's very overwhelming the first time you read it. That last time going through, after a chapter, I'd just pull up pictures of the characters and reread bios so I could follow it a little better. But her Marine stuff, I think it works in the show fairly well.
Yeah, I was constantly waiting for her to go home.
Yeah, well, that's why I think a lot of people hated Marine is because they're like, just fucking go to Westeros. Cersei is out here destroying people.
Yeah, but it's the way that they build her character up, you know, like they essentially just keep giving her names. Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen,
Breaker of Chains,
first of her name, Mother
Khaleesi
of Dragons,
of the Great Grass Sea.
Yeah, like she learns to rule. She learns. She learns
the
everything.
Unburnt.
Yeah, she learns everything necessary to combat Cersei, but you can't just throw her into that fire right away. I like the pun there that I accidentally did.
There you go.
And it's necessary to build her up to that point to create this cataclysmic event that's supposed to happen at some point.
I forget if it's Tyrion. Missandei just does the fucking names at him. He's like, and I am Tyrion of House Lannister.
Yeah. Is it the end of season 3 or 4 where Tyrion kills Tywin?
It's at the end of season 4.
On the shitter.
Because, yeah, season 3 is the Red Wedding, and then season 4 is the opening is the Purple Wedding.
Yeah.
And then Tyrion gets blamed.
And then you have Oberyn Martell show up and absolutely steal the season.
Yeah.
Played by Pedro Pascal, which we already said. Easily one. What do they call the Viper?
The Red Viper of Dorne.
Yeah, who fucks everybody.
Everyone's expecting it to be his older brother who has gout and can't walk and is very reasonable. And it's the fucking Red Viper that shows up.
The fucking playboy with the spear.
Yeah. Oh, so good. And just immediately he's like, I'm going to kill some fucking Lannisters today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's because his sister Elia was raped and murdered by the Mountain when King's Landing was sacked, and their baby's head was smashed onto a rock.
See, and that is not cool.
Well,
that's super dumb.
And once the Mountain dies, that's when they're like, all right, we agree. It was him, but he's dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's all a little bit different in the books, but
I really like Oberyn, and I was absolutely distraught. So season 3 happens, right? The Red Wedding. I was really into Robb. I thought Robb was great. Couldn't get enough Robb. And then they kill Robb. And then season 4 starts. Oberyn shows up, and I looked over, and I was like, I think I got a new guy. I think I got a new guy. I like this guy because he gets so much screen time. And at this point, you would think I learned that.
But that's when you make the decision. You're like, all right, I'm going to like the shitheads, and then they'll die.
See, but you think I would learn because he's getting so much screen time. I'm like, obviously, this guy's got some plot armor. He's going to be around for a minute. This guy's playing a big role in this story.
Yep.
I really like him. And then we get to the duel for Tyrion's life because he requests trial by combat, which before we get into that, we do have to talk about Tyrion's speech that he does in front of the royal court where Shay betrays him.
Yeah, I guess I'm guilty of being a dwarf.
That is one of the best monologues I have ever heard in film. Peter Dinklage brings the heat.
I saved all of you, and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah. Oh, my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
And they did, that was a really tough scene to film. And in the making of, there's people have probably seen it now. Have you seen the one where he's just like dancing down the aisle with the handcuffs on?
Classic GIF.
Yes.
Different in the books.
Yeah, but
in the books, his original wife was I forget, where do horrors go? It's not Shay. He has a different Taisha. Taisha's her name. He is a teenager. He runs away. He meets this girl, some like peasant, and he stays there for a few days. They get married. He's in love.
They talk about this in the show, though.
They talk about this in the show, and then Tywin makes Tyrion watch all of his men have sex with her, and then he makes Tyrion have sex with her one more time, and Jaime tells him it was all a ruse.
Yep. We just wanted you to get laid.
And Jaime tells him when he's helping Tyrion escape, he tells him, that was a lie. That I did not set that up. She was just a good girl who liked you. Which doesn't happen in the books, and that's what tips Tyrion over. He's like, no, like my wife I had to watch her get raped 50 times because of my dad, and then he goes up and he sees Shay with his dad. No, yeah, Tyrion's got an entire arc, dude. Tyrion in the book 5 is so good. It's him going essentially through a lot of different European countries on a riverboat trip with a bunch of people that you don't know. And it's so fucking good.
And I believe it's in Feast for Crows, where the last chapter for him is when he's getting pulled down in the water by the stone men.
Yeah.
And
I love the stone men.
Tyrion's character was so fucking good. And it is once he kills Tywin and he goes overseas and meets up with Daenerys.
Yeah.
This is where his writing definitely starts falling off. This is where you can tell he's just not as witty, and it's solely Dinklage just salvaging this role because Tyrion starts doing some dumb shit later in the show.
Yeah, knowing the White Walkers are attacking Winterfell, he's like, all right, let's go underground. We know they raised the dead. Let's go to the crypts. Like, he even talks about it behind the scenes. Peter Dinklage's like, I guess Tyrion just forgot. In the books, Tyrion doesn't just meet up with Daenerys. He gets sent by Illyrio Mopatis to go with a person named John Connington and a kid named Young Griff. Now, Young Griff, we learn later on, is allegedly the baby that the Mountain killed, Elia Martell and Rhaegar Targaryen's son. Varys, allegedly that baby that the Mountain killed, Varys says that he swapped the babies, and the real Aegon Targaryen has been getting raised to be kingly and a leader. And in the books, Aegon Targaryen has a whole army land in King's Landing before Daenerys. There's a whole other army with a Targaryen claim before Daenerys gets there in the books.
There's no way they were going to put that in the show. They did not have enough.
They could. They had the seasons. They had the time. And it would have been better if they had done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are definitely hitting the point now where, like, I'm still super vibing with the show, but this sour taste is starting to rise. This little bit of, there's inconsistency starting to rear its head, and plus you've distanced yourself from the books in certain aspects so much that things have to change.
Let's talk about what I think the show writers thought. This is the best idea ever. We're going to have everyone's favorite characters. All of them are going to walk north of the wall and try and grab a white.
Oh my God.
Jon Snow, Tormund Giantsbane, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros Samir, Gendry, the Hound. It's just like, let's just have all of them just go. Jorah Mormont. And, okay, so they're up there, and they get in trouble. They're 3-4 days north of the wall. They're fucking north of the wall. You don't just travel. It's not as the crow flies, and they get in trouble.
Not going to Madison.
And they turn around and they say, Gendry, you're the fastest. What? I'm from King's Landing. I'm not used to the north. They're like, run back. He runs back.
In the same episode.
And brings Daenerys back.
The same episode.
It's when they start fucking around with the time where Littlefinger gets a jetpack and can just be everywhere at once. Dude, that's a major problem.
In the earlier seasons, and I'll point to the Hound and Arya as one of the best examples of this. The travel time and the adventure is what makes the show great.
Yeah.
The scenarios that people run into on the road and trying to get to someplace. You want these characters to be in the spots that they end up at. And that is what the audience is anticipating. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
But it's the shit that happens beforehand and the journey to get there that makes it all worthwhile. And
it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah. And then they introduce fast travel in video games. I rarely use it.
It depends on. And
like
Starfield,
we both named a Bethesda game.
Yeah. Skyrim, you can get away with not using it because at least it's fun and scenic and things happen.
Yes. And on the PC, when I had a PC and played, I had the mod where like it would just generate more random encounters because like once you kill like a camp, nobody's ever there again. And that bothers me.
Yeah.
Like there's a perfectly good camp that I slaughtered a month ago and people are like, he might come back.
Yeah.
We're not going to go over there. That's how I think of it. Mm-hmm. But still, there'd be some shitty bandits that are like, I don't want to sleep outside anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, when you introduce fast travel, the show just absolutely nosedives.
I will say, a lot of great moments, though, in the later seasons. Cersei getting captured by the Faith.
Shame.
It's that's the best part for her character. Like, her character, it's a little different in the books, but mostly she's just a crazy woman who loves her kids too much. And she's so fun in the books reading it because she's just trash. And she's like, I'm so fucking smart. These people are dumb. And you see her doing everything wrong. It's so fun to be inside of her brain as she is fucking everything up.
Yeah.
And yeah, when she gets shamed and walked through the streets, awesome.
Yeah.
Jesus carrying the cross falls 3 times. All of the symbolism. I'm there for it.
Yep.
And then when she's supposed to go for the trial, and the best song from Game of Thrones, The Light of the Seven, when that song starts playing and it's her cousin, fucking Lancel Lannister. What a stupid name. Your mother was a whore with a fat ass. Get the breastplate stretcher. When Lancel is crawling trying to stop the wildfire from blowing up the Citadel.
Oh my God, dude. I was on pins and needles.
So awesome. Fucking insane. And then Tommen jumps out the window.
That is, yeah. So
also, Tommen in the books, he knights a cat. The first ever cat
Sir
that has been
Pounce.
knighted, Sir Pounce, is officially a knight.
Also, I have a roommate who has a cat, and the fact that he didn't name his cat like something cool like Sir Pounce. I mean, he had a name kind of already, but Howard's a good name. Put Sir in front of it.
Yeah.
And Sir Pounce, easily the best cat name I've ever heard in my entire life.
There is an evil old black cat Arya chases in season 1 that was a Targaryen cat.
And it's Darth Pounce.
It was, I don't know if, I think it was Elia's cat. It was one of the Targaryens' cats. And when the Targaryens left, the cat got super angry and started attacking everyone. And that cat is actively like trying to attack Tommen and fuck with Tommen. And Sir Pounce protects him. So there's a Targaryen like Sir Pounce battle going on in the background as 2 cats.
That's awesome.
Sign me up.
We've also missed Marjorie, who plays a pretty big role.
She's fine.
In the show.
Lola Bunny.
What?
Lola Bunny from Space Jam.
That's who plays.
She's got her face.
Oh, really?
Well, you can see it.
Oh, wait. I thought you meant like she voices the character in Space Jam too.
No.
Needless to say, I had a very big crush on Natalie Dormer.
You got it.
Sure. Yeah. That's the name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember the pretty ones.
Well, it's the whole Purple Wedding being orchestrated by the other Tyrell, my favorite Tyrell, Olenna Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns.
Yeah, the Queen of Thorns.
When Tyrion tries
to know it was me.
When Tyrion tries to talk with her, and she's like, "You're just a droll little fellow. I thought you'd be more fun. I expected more out of you." Tyrion's like, "Fuck,
my charm does not work.
Sorry,
my wit does not work on this woman.
I should have been better."
Yeah, no. When you get into, I think that scene where Lancel is crawling to stop the wildfire, or what's the name of the green fire?
Wildfire.
Is it called Wildfire?
That's one of the last great moments of the show.
That is, yeah, I think it's the last great moment when she blows up. It's the Sept of Baelor, right?
Citadel.
The Citadel? What is the Sept of Baelor is where Arya sees Ned get his head cut off, or the statue of something.
Yeah.
There's a Sept of
Wait,
Baelor
no, it's the
somewhere.
Sept of Baelor. The Citadel is where, that's an old town. Yep.
Yeah, no, that is so fucking good.
The music goes hard.
Yeah,
The
and it's a
music goes
very
hard.
well directed scene.
There's so much. Mance Rayder at the wall, very disappointing. Mance
Really?
Rayder is way cooler in the books, and
Oh, I
he's
didn't
way
know
more
that.
fun and clever in the books. They offered the role to McNulty from The Wire, who would have been fucking awesome.
Oh my god! But he had a lot of personal problems going on, which is
He was having an affair very openly. The thing was,
have you seen the photo of him in the getting caught?
What he said was, it sounded really cold, and I didn't want to go be cold for a couple of years.
I wonder if he's kicking himself for that now.
Mance Rayder's still alive in the books.
Yeah, because John kills him, or does it?
John kills him in the books and the show,
Because they're gonna burn him.
and he's like, "That's enough." But Melisandre in the books puts a glamour on Rattleshirt, and Rattleshirt looks like Mance Rayder, and he gets killed for him. And then
Rattleshirt is like a.
Lord of Bones,
Oh, okay.
and so Mance Rayder is wearing a glamour, pretending to be a different wildling, and she sends him south to Winterfell to try and save Arya Stark from.
Good on her.
Dude, the Theon Winterfell chapters in the book is the most insane gothic horror shit ever. Because, all right, so they're stuck in, they're waiting for Stannis' army to show up, and people are just like, they're trapped in here. They're low on food. The Manderly is actively feeding Freys to each other. It is gothic horror, and then all of a sudden people start dying, and no one knows who's doing it. So tensions are just rising, and I don't want to say too much, but the Theon stuff in the books is some of my favorite. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. In the later seasons, I think the shining moments for me were like at this point, Ygritte has died, and I feel so bad for Jon Snow. And
He married her in real life,
yeah, and I love that.
and they have a kid. They're fine.
Yeah, which is it makes me happy. At least something good came from the show.
I'm no southerner.
But he likes to go down south.
You're gonna put me in a dress and make me go to tra-la-la-la-la-la, and I'm like, come on, Ygritte. I know you're gonna die.
I didn't know she was going to, and I was heartbroken because she was one, again, of my favorite fucking characters.
Yeah.
With his whole, yeah. In the later seasons, Jon Snow really starts to shine for me because I'm getting really into this. The whole him becoming Lord Commander is fantastic.
Great. It's great.
And then you have him get murdered. And then again, I quit the show because my all-time favorite character was Jon at this point.
It's one of those things, though, it had to happen he doesn't explain himself. And if he just took the time to explain it to him, it's like, they will become whites. We need to bring the wildling south. It sucks. I know. He doesn't explain anything, and he just makes these decrees that make everyone upset. He is settling wildlings south of the wall, which has been
That's
strictly
no-go.
against the Night's Watch forever.
But you have him so first you have Hard Home, which is a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
And now we're getting more of the whites. You learn that Valerian Steel, his sword, Longclaw,
Yeah.
can kill whites because he has that fucking epic battle with that one. And then when he hits him and that White Walker just shatters, I got hard. I was over the moon. I was like, my favorite character can kill whites.
We didn't mention another character, and that's Bran Stark.
Do we need to, though?
Well, he's going to be king someday.
I mean, he just pisses
Who's
me off.
got a greater story than Bran Stark? And you don't even want to, I don't want to talk about it for 2 seconds.
Literally anybody else.
He was cool. He was cool for a while.
His journey to meet the Three-Eyed Raven was a lot of fun, and the two wildlings, who I can't remember their names, that he travels with was awesome. Him
Yeah.
with Hodor, and then that one
Asha.
girl, Asha.
Osha? Not certified.
No, she's not certified.
No.
Their whole journey was really cool, and then you have the weird ladies of the women, the children of the forest,
Children
or
of the
whatever,
Forest.
who throw fireballs. Like that was cool.
Well, the thing is,
the door scene was cool.
the three-eyed crow in the books, it's this dude who looks dead, who's got trees growing through his skulls, like all through his body. In the show, it's Grandpa holding onto some twigs.
Yeah, they kind of fucked that up.
Even hiring one of the greatest actors of all time does not fix that. It is all you did was put Grandpa behind some twigs.
Yeah, it felt a little anticlimactic, especially since you have the hold the door scene before that.
And it's kind of like rumored in the books that he has to eat Jojen to like get powers.
Really?
Yep. And Bran is warging into Hodor regularly to go explore, and that's like one of the gravest sins is to warg into a person.
Do you think Hodor was down with it though?
Bran says like Hodor seems to get used to it, but Hodor goes and hides away in a small area of his brain I can't go to when I'm in there.
No, that makes it even worse.
And then Bran's like, I wonder what Jojen and what's his sister's name? Mira. He's like, I wonder what Mira would do if I tried to get to hold her as Hodor. I'm like, dude, that's some like Bran. Wonder Woman 2 shit right there.
Yeah, fuck you, Bran.
Well,
which also has Pedro Pascal in it.
But I mean, when the multiple times he's like, no, Bran, you won't walk. I won't teach you how to walk. I'll teach you how to fly. I'm like, Bran's gonna warg a dragon.
Yeah, I had been waiting for that the whole time.
Bran's gonna warg a dragon.
Doesn't
warg a dragon.
I don't know if you can relate to this. I get a little douchebaggy sometimes being a film kid. That like I can a lot of times I can kind of spot something before it happens in a movie, predicting twists.
If there's a gun on the wall, you use the gun.
Yes, I feel like I got a pretty good grip on like normal storytelling conventions, and I was a lot younger at the time. So when they introduced the warging, and you know that Bran can do it, I'm like, he's going to be a dragon. He's going to be a dragon,
or at least something. At least something.
And I got it wrong because
it could have been. It could have been any cool thing, like when they introduced the time travel stuff. Which even the three-eyed raven says to him is like, you can't time travel. You can't change the past. And the first thing Bran does is like go to the past and whisper at his dad, and his dad looks around. I'm like, all right, he's going to do something. And there's also a legendary Bran in history called Bran the Builder that like helped build Storm's End and built all these places. I'm like, maybe Bran travels back in time and maybe he's responsible for the White Walkers. Maybe he knew that the White Walkers had to happen. Evil must happen for good to work, for everyone to rise up and like team up together. Maybe it's like some grand plan that the only way to, it's Doctor Strange. There's a million scenarios, but the only one that works is if this happens and this happens.
Yeah.
And in the books, anytime someone's around a werewood, Arya's like, I thought I heard Bran's voice and I had a dream about this, and it changes the way they do stuff. In the books, it's hinted that Bran has traveled back in time and is pushing people to do things. Jon especially, Arya quite a bit.
There's also a theory, and I forget, maybe you know a little bit more about it.
I do.
That Bran went back and tried to influence the Mad King and fucked up somehow, and that's how we get the burn them. Because of the same reason that Hodor holds the door with Bran going back and fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Is people are thinking that Bran went back and tried to stop everything from happening with the Mad King, and that's what drove him mad.
You should do yourself a favor and read all of the prequel novellas. Read House of the Dragon. Read about...
I don't want to read it because now I'm experiencing Game of Thrones the way that I want to experience it through cinematic television.
But, man, the Mad King was a charismatic guy. Him and Tywin and Stafford Baratheon, Robert and Stannis' dad, were like the three homies. They were the three amigos. It's just fun to hear about this, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess I could go and skip the part that House of the Dragon's going to cover.
And then when Tywin got married, the Mad King's like, fun to have the last night tonight, last prima nocta, huh? He's like, I want to fuck your wife, Tywin.
Oh shit!
And there, people like,
and that's how we get
people like
Tyrion.
Tyrion's a secret Targaryen. That's what people say, and he's not. But
Tyrion's also mad ugly in the books.
He's a little uglier, yes.
Doesn't he have a tail?
No, many Targaryens are born with tails, though.
That's crazy.
Well, some of them are born without skin. But
that's weird.
There's a theory that I like that the ancient Valyrians were masters of magic and even science, and I think that they merged their DNA with dragons somehow. And it's very volatile, their blood, but that's also why they can communicate or control dragons. But that's also why they sometimes give birth to like weird half dragons.
I'm down with it.
Yeah. But Bran, there was so much potential, and also so much potential with Arya becoming a faceless man. And she doesn't really do anything with it. She kills Lord Frey. I mean, that was a fun little throwaway opening scene, which that's all it was. It could have been a whole, like, thing.
So now that we're getting into the later seasons, and this has just been a whirlwind of Game of Thrones talk, can I tell you what I think should have happened at the end as somebody who only watched the show and did not read the books?
Please.
So after Hardhome, you're building up this epic battle between Jon Snow and the Night King. That's got to happen. That's got to be the fucking Anakin versus Obi-Wan moment that I've been waiting for this entire time.
Okay.
And I don't give a fuck if Jon dies as long as we get that fight. It needs to mean something.
Okay.
We have to get there.
Okay.
That's the fight that I got to see.
It seems like it has to happen.
Yes. Then having Arya have the ability to take faces, she should have took Jaime's face and killed Cersei as Jaime. That would have been great, because who is she? She's got a list. She's naming them off all the time.
And she has the faculties to do it. And
So-
she doesn't really do anything.
No,
No.
she doesn't.
No.
Instead,
But she does drop her knife in a fancy way and kills the Night King, which is very...
so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it was so disappointing because the Battle of the Wall, super good. The Battle of Winterfell, fucking amazing. The Battle of the Battle of Winterfell, Battle of the Bastards, amazing.
Okay,
and then the Battle of Winterfell is it's so bad. It's dark to a point of
Bad filmmaking.
That people thought there was a problem with the episode. Like, I think something was wrong. You can't see a fucking thing. It's super confusing too, because you don't know where characters are. Everything's just falling and jumping around, and you don't have a frame of reference. Good chase scenes, good fight scenes. You know your environment and how your characters move through it. And this one, out the window.
Yeah, I had waited so long for the ending of this show, and there had been so much speculation, and the last little bit of faith I had with it was the Battle of the Bastards, which is my personal favorite.
It's also horrible, though.
That's my favorite episode.
All right, Rick and Zigzag. And then John just runs out like a dumbass.
I loved that about Jon. When he unsheathes his sword and just drops the sheath, you know he doesn't expect to live.
It's dumb. It's dumb. It's stupid.
I love it. I love it. And it's one of the best cinematic moments ever, because the way they shot the fight scene was fucking crazy.
I am
The problem that I do have with it is
Yeah.
if Sansa would have just fucking said something, we wouldn't have had Jon have to go through a mile of shit just to beat the fuck out of Ramsay.
And then she shows up like she's so clever. It's like, you know what's clever? Communicating.
I got into fights with people about how much I hated Sansa at the end.
She was set up to be really cool, and then she became not a character. She became like not just two-dimensional and very boring.
She should have been set up as like the next Littlefinger, but with like better intentions.
All of the ending is bad.
Yes.
And
so you should have had Jon fight the Night King. Arya should have killed Cersei. Jaime should have ended up with Brienne. You could have had all of this.
Yeah.
And the big fuck up was if you wouldn't have abbreviated season 7 and season 8, if you would have went a full 10 seasons, and we could have seen Daenerys slowly spiral into the madness that she becomes.
The pieces are there.
It would have felt so much better. What is her
Missandei? Grey Worm?
When she Missandei and Grey Worm. When Missandei gets her head chopped off, I felt nothing.
Yeah. And Grey Worm got mad, but it was so fast. Everything was just like boom, 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 boom. And you have time. You have the money. What a rare opportunity that you have one of the greatest shows in television, and HBO's like, take your time. You have all the money you need.
And that's what pisses me off the most, is because I write my own screenplays. I'm working on a TV show that I'm pretty proud of.
Okay.
And it's getting to the point now where I'm going to start sending out some you'll probably get one of the pilot episodes so I can get your thoughts on it.
I'll give you the most honest feedback you'll ever get.
Yes, and that's what I need.
I used to get in trouble with friends because they're like, oh, I just wanted you to say you liked it. I'm like,
no, I don't want you to. I want you to tell me what's wrong with it so I make it better.
Yep.
And I'm on my 4th draft of the first episode, and it's going well. But see, you want to create something good, and that's all fine and dandy. You create something good, that's fantastic. But when you have the world by its nuts, when you have everybody talking about your show, where it is literally captivating every single person that watches it. And you have that power. That is a rare thing for any medium to achieve.
And Jaime just takes a boat up to the shore, and Euron's there because Euron just knew that this
That's
would be
convenient.
the one area Jaime might roll up to. And then Jaime can just walk into fucking King's Landing, can go up to the Red Keep and find Cersei, and the rubble falls on them.
Oh my God, I was so pissed.
It's all so dumb.
And like his fight with Euron should be awesome because of even though Euron's character in the show sucks ass.
He's set up to be the new villain, and he fails spectacularly. And it's not the actor's fault.
And he's a formidable opponent, and you have Jaime who lost his dominant hand. That would be his big moment to take this guy down and do it as a lesser man because he doesn't have his previous talents and he had to build himself back up and he's a new man. And then he can confront Cersei and you can have that I don't fucking need you moment. And he can go back to Brienne and you can have this beautiful story for Jaime and he can kind of give up everything. Even though Tywin wants him to be the next Tywin, you could have him give it all up.
Yeah, you could have.
It would have been beautiful.
Remember when someone kicks Theon between the legs and he's like, ha ha ha.
I don't got nothing there. I'm a Kindle.
And then he fights back. I'm like, come on. Great. That's great writing right there. He doesn't have balls.
Give him all the Emmys.
Give him all the Emmys. Yeah, the last season, they have a council, which there's so many issues. Oh, well, Jon kills Daenerys. That's fine. That was cinematic, and I get it. They didn't do the legwork, but I get it.
Yeah.
But when they're having the council of everyone there, and Sansa's like, the North is no longer part of the Seven Kingdoms. And I was like, sure. And the Greyjoys are like, okay, we're still going to be a part of that. And Dorne's like, that's fine, we'll stay. No. If fucking Sansa can take the North, there are the fucking Greyjoys and the Iron Islands and Dorne have been largely way more antagonistic and fierce against the Seven Kingdoms their entire history. They don't roll over.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And yeah, all right, let's vote Bran in, who has shown no leadership, who has shown nothing to any of these characters.
Who literally says in the show, I can never be king. He says that.
Why do you think I came here?
Fuck you, Bran.
Oh.
Eat dicks.
No, fuck you.
Hit the road.
David and Dan.
Yes, fuck both of those guys.
Yeah.
They bundled a show that had so much going for it, and it makes me beyond angry to even think about it. But thank God House of the Dragons came along.
The end of the season is like the birth of democracy too. Like, well, we'll let people vote.
Oh, what a novel idea.
I'm like, that's how we're ending the show? We're going to start a democracy?
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Oh man, that makes me so angry. I get fired up just thinking about it.
And then you get even more fired up when you realize George hasn't released a book in quite a while.
Well, and that's the other thing I was thinking about. I think the ending of that show kind of spoiled it for him.
Well, I think
I think that's the ending that he wanted, and they didn't do it right, which should put the pressure on him to get there and tell the story the right way.
It's going to be different, though, because there's a whole fake Aegon Targaryen that has his own army there that will get King's Landing before Daenerys. The pieces will be different, but I think it ultimately will be Daenerys and Jon at the throne. He has, like, they did say Bran is going to be king in George's writing as well.
But I trust
But George would do the legwork and make it make sense.
Yeah.
And if not, maybe he sees this like, I'll do something else.
Yeah, when you have a show that spent so much time fleshing out characters and having reunions, like when everybody gets reunited in Winterfell for the first time, like when Jon sees Sansa for the first time again, like even though the writing was not great and I'm starting to fall off the show a little bit, like it hit me in the chest.
That's
like
a good moment.
I could feel it.
Yeah.
When Arya returns and sees Sansa for the first time, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Come on. And that was at peak shitty, because that's like the first episode of season 8 that she meets Sansa again.
And then you have this moment where Jon can say to them, I'm a Targaryen.
And they're going to be my goodness.
But they cut away beforehand. I'm like, that's one of the most interesting conversation for siblings I could watch.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I'm not going to show it.
That's bullshit.
Here's Littlefinger in Winterfell thinking he can manipulate anyone at this point.
And
So yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's great, and then it's fine. We'll see if House of the Dragon sticks the landing. So far, they've followed the writing, and the events for the next 3 seasons are insane. If they stick to what they have, you're going to lose your shit multiple times.
That's what I want. That's what I need.
Yeah. You have no idea the insanity that's coming. Dragon seeds, dragon pits. There's a little character called Cheese.
That's everybody in Wisconsin's favorite character.
Yeah. And Dunkin' Egg is set up to be very exciting as well. The Dunkin' Egg there's another Game of Thrones prequel series that's coming out.
Where does that happen chronologically with where we're at between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon?
After House of the Dragon, before Game of Thrones. About 80 years, probably say 80, 100 years
still before Rhaegar.
Yeah. It's like Rhaegar's... It's Aemon's brother.
Okay.
Maester Aemon's brother. Yeah.
Dunkin' Egg.
Dunkin' Egg. Dunk is a hedge knight who... Just a poor fuck from King's Landing, from Flea Bottom, who just became a knight, and then he accidentally gets in way over his head, and he accidentally makes friends with the 5th son of a Targaryen, and they go on adventures together. In the first thing,
that sounds pretty dope.
In the first, I won't spoil the first season, but you're gonna fucking love it.
All right,
Dunk is a hero. He is a drunk, horny young man who accidentally changes the course of events of the history many times.
Love it.
Yep.
Yeah, sign me up for that. I think hopefully HBO has learned its lesson and they are going to do these next 2 shows, right? It is a perfect example of giving people who don't deserve it way too much power. Because they could have just handed the show off. If you want to go work on Star Wars, which is a much lesser product.
And you could have.
Yeah. You could have handed the show off to somebody like the dude who directed the Battle of the Bastards. Give it to him. That dude fucking directs his ass off.
Yeah. And he is in charge of House of the Dragon now.
Which is why I brought it up. Because that dude fucking rocks. I think he did Hard Home too, which is another one of my favorite episodes.
All right.
Are we ranking all of Game of Thrones compared to the movies? Because just move it to the bottom.
No.
Okay.
We were doing like a TV show ranking, but it was really weird because we were ranking shows that weren't done yet.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that, but I did want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you've enjoyed this episode, you have good taste. So we appreciate your taste. And if you wanted to write a review or leave a like on this video, if you're watching it on YouTube or if you're listening to it on a podcast app, do what you can. And if you want access to episodes much earlier, well in advance, check out patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. Special thanks to executive producers Ryan Christianek, Kip Kipper, Brian Ward, Jordan Hoff, Phil Wright, Phil Coldo Gardno, Bryant Ross, Kelly Gutowski, and Justin Melly. We appreciate your support. Watch House of the Dragon Season 2.
Yeah.